Hello, good evening. Welcome to Sandy Ainley. I hope each one of you are well. Today I'm going to do some reading for each one of you. It's quite a while since I've been ready to read to you, and the subject matter that I'm going to read out to you is a topic that's very close to my heart. In fact, spot on in my heart. It's on subject of going back to my Annie days when I was a child. And I have a story to say to you, which I watched a bit of an Annie documentary today, and I recall a young lady, very young lady, who received the part of Annie in Connecticut. And on the first day of the first show performance of Annie, the little girl who was supposed to take the main role was given the sack and replaced by another little girl whose name I do know, Andrea McArdle. And Andrea McArdle, who was, and I hope is, full of self-confidence, just said, yeah, I'll take the role, and performed as if the little girl had practiced it a million times. Just such professionalism. So I understand. I didn't see the first show. However, I trust the director who spoke on the subject. And I do not mind saying that it was very sad in this documentary for the original Annie, who was given the sack, who spoke on the subject in this documentary and was close to tears. And I'm not surprised a young girl, such a young child, only about 10 years of age, receiving the sack already. And then the young lady learnt that one can't do what the young lady was doing at rehearsal for Annie, which was when the director gave directions to the little girl, she clammed up and became quiet. And that was like playing the silent bully to the director. And it's like an actor's revenge, as one puts it in the acting world. And that was one of the reasons that the young lady received the sack. And it leads me to think, it provoked my thought on subject of this book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. And it's by Manuel J. Smith, PhD. And it's the bestseller on assertiveness training. Manuel J., as I said, are you letting people walk all over you? Are you being manipulated into sexual encounters? Are you asking for a raise and not getting it? And I found a part in this book that really is close to home on the subject of what this little girl went through before receiving the sack. And it's a lot to do with, or in fact fully to do with, the relationship between this little girl and, when I was younger, between me and the so-called director of the shows. And particularly for this little girl, I'd like to read some of this section out to you, just to give you an idea of what it's like as a youngster to be a performer, as I was also, not to the degree that some children were. However, I did do my bit, and I did use to feel rather like a showpiece. And it's interesting because in the documentary I saw today, one of the little lady now, however, was a little girl in Annie, used to talk of feeling like that the lady was doing a freak show as a child sometimes. So it's interesting because I don't mind drawing a comparison between a freak show and feeling like a showpiece. It's like all this business, you know, and it may all seem very glitzy, but actually in reality, I was reaching out to be noticed and loved and accepted, and really just wanted to fit in with my friends. And I was known as the actress, the young lady who wants to be an actress in the future and wants to be a singer in the future. And I was known for my so-called talented manner, and I wanted something much deeper than that. I needed something much deeper than that. So I fully understand the young ladies who played in Annie, and I relate to the young ladies who played in Annie. So I'll read now, I'll go ahead. When I say no, I feel guilty. Dialogue 20. Carl copes with a manipulative movie producer. Carl is a talented young actor with 3 movie roles that have earned him good reviews. Because of his success, he and his agent planned a campaign for his screen career that involves planned and careful review and selection of any roles he is offered in the future to get the most financial and professional achievement out of them. Carl knows that he is talented and has the potential to become a sought-after actor. Unfortunately, Carl also feels that he must do everything desired by the producers he deals with to maintain their goodwill, or he might be passed by. Carl's belief that he must act like a goody two-shoes toward producers is unsupported by reality. Carl's assumption that talent alone is not sufficient to be successful is quite correct. His assumption that the goodwill of these producers is essential to his success is not correct. Evidence to the contrary is available to Carl and all his peers, but is misinterpreted by them. The 3 actors in the movie Miss Industry who work whenever they want and pick and choose their jobs are George C. Scott, Marlon Brando, and Peter Falk. These gentlemen behave publicly as if they do not feel they require the goodwill of producers, or indeed certain other segments of the movie industry, and they are reputed to be very assertive in their private dealings, in negotiating movie roles and contracts as well. Although equally great acting talent is not common to all 3 of these gentlemen, a high degree of assertiveness is. To Carl and his fellow actors in his group, these 3 persons are viewed as eccentrics or crazies, since they are not manipulatable and find it easy to assertively demand what they require from themselves and typically get it. Carl himself is amazed at their finding work consistently, but writes off their successes as something peculiar to their personalities and places himself in an infantile or at best childlike relationship to his possible employers. At the time of this dialogue, I was consulting for a drama study group that included Carl, a former Broadway musical star, and other young actors and actresses whose faces were so familiar from their TV commercials, but had no names to go with them. I was consulting on how to be systematically assertive to casting directors, reading committees, directors, and production assistants, producers, and the whole lot of fringe, backers, experts, critics, and goffers that the actor must cope with. Carl brought up a problem of being pressured and manipulated by the producer of a film soon to go into production. Carl's agent has 2 possible contracted roles in negotiation, one of them with this producer. His agent may recommend that he take one over the other, neither or even both if scheduling commitments could be worked out. The producer, on the other hand, wanted Carl to sign a production contract with him immediately. Carl's agent, meanwhile, was negotiating on the second possible role. Carl did not want to tell the producer that he was considering another role in place of the one being offered for fear that he would lose the producer's goodwill on future negotiations, or that the producer would use this information to file up the negotiations on the other contract. In short, Carl had a problem in communicating his desire not to make a commitment immediately and to negotiate a commitment time limit sufficient to decide which role to contact for. Carl had had an encounter with the producer shortly before the consultation with me. He had begged off giving his decision, but had promised to see him as soon as possible. The following coached dialogue was set up in the drama group to allow Carl to practice being systematically assertive in avoiding a premature commitment without being rude, short, apologetic, or making the producer angry or insulting him. Although the setting of this situation dialogue is the exotic cinematographic production business, systematically asserting oneself to one's present or future employer to avoid a manipulated commitment is equally applicable in almost all other life occupations. Setting off the dialogue. Carl is seated in Mr. Mogul's office as the producer breezes through the waiting room, greets Carl and whisks him into his inner office. Producer. Carl, this is the role for you. If this doesn't make it for you, nothing will. I've just come from upstairs and everybody is really enthusiastic over you playing the role of Marvin. Carl. That's great. I agree with them. I think I could do a good job on it too. Fogging. Producer. Fabulous. All we need is the contract signed and we'll have a drink on it. Carl. Great. I'll have the drink if I sign, but I still want some time to decide. Self-disclosure. Producer. What do you need time for? It's a great part and the money's good. Hal thinks so too. He's your agent and he negotiated the terms. Carl. I agree, but I don't want to make a commitment yet. Fogging and broken record. Producer. Carl. We really want you on this production. I've worked hard upstairs to get the rest of the staff enthusiastic for you. We all want you now. Don't let me down after all the trouble I went for you. Carl. I hope I don't disappoint you, Sol, but I still don't want to make a commitment right now. Self-disclosure and broken record. Producer. We leave for location in 2 weeks. We need a commitment right now. Don't pass up this part, Carl. Carl. You're probably right, Sol. So how long can you give me to decide? Fogging and workable compromise. Producer. I'll need your signature by tomorrow. Carl. I'm sure you do, Sol, but that's not enough time for me. How about if I let you know before you leave for location? That's 2 weeks. That should be enough time for me to decide. Fogging and workable compromise. Producer. Carl, we can't do that. We'd have to break off production and come back here to get a replacement if you said no. Screw up the whole schedule. Carl. I don't understand. Don't you have a second choice picked out? Self-disclosure. Producer. Not yet. We haven't found anyone near you for this part. If you don't sign, Carl, you'll be missing a great role. Carl. You're probably right, Sol, but I still want time to decide. Let's look at the calendar. You leave on the 28th, right? I'll give you my decision on the 23rd. That would give you 5 working days to find someone else if I say no. How's that sound? Fogging, broken record, and workable compromise. Producer. That's cutting it very close for me, Carl. Carl. I'm sure it is, Sol, but I need time and you need time. This gives us both some leeway. Fogging, broken record, and workable compromise. Producer. You give me no choice. What way is that to be after all I've done for you? Carl. You're right, Sol. It's a hell of a way to operate. I wish I could let you know that I would sign, but I'm not going to make a commitment right now. Fogging, self-disclosure, and broken record. Producer: if you decide earlier, you will let me know right away? Carl: of course I will, Sol, as soon as I decide. Workable compromise. Producer: we're counting on you for this part. Carl: I know you are, Sol, and I want you to take it, and I want to take it. But I just need more time. Self-disclosure and broken record. I was amazed at the quickness Carl displayed in being able to pick up the elements of the assertive skills and use them after only a small amount of explanation and coaching. Less than 3 hours and several bottles of California wine. Perhaps the quickness was due to his excellent skill as an actor. He was familiar with role-playing. All he needed to do was learn a new script. As things turned out, Carl learned his new, more assertive role very well. In meeting with the producer, Carl got what he wanted. A delay in commitment that was to prove very important to him. So, thank you very much for hearing me. And that short reading session really touched me very deeply inside. And it's unlikely, however, if the lady who was going to play Annie is watching this, then my heart reached out to you in this speech, in this reading session that I performed out to each one of you today, this evening. And for anyone who has felt, feels, or is going to be feeling this type of situation with a director, please be assertive. What does that mean, be assertive? I mean what I read, and I read what I meant. And this is my message for you today. Going back to myself, to each one of you, I feel somewhat sad this evening. I feel that since my recovery process is taking place, I feel for years really, with my mobility concern, that I've not been in a position to pursue any acting at all and singing, and I'm out of practice. And my singing was a little better today. It has its bad days and it has its good days. And today my voice was pretty much on track. And I feel sad on that one also, because someone who used to sing at a professional level and could have played any role at Broadway and the West End, London, to go from that extreme to me when I sing today, when I'm less than average, really, in my opinion. Today I'd say I was average. It's hurtful for me because I had a good talent. And I do have a good talent. It's just I'm out of training now, and my voice is definitely clammed up. And there's nothing there left apart from a very, very small degree of what I used to have, but on a much, much smaller scale. My voice has improved since I've recorded anything singing on YouTube, via YouTube. It's definitely got to a point now where it's sounding an average voice. And so I'm rather chuffed with that. However, it's still painful when I don't get to sound how I like to sound. And when I remember how good I was. And it's ditto with the classical ballet. I mean, I've put on so much weight. You know, so what I need to do is I'm trying to get and need to get my life back on track again. And then who knows what I may start again. I doubt very much that I shall be able to have a professional role in acting, singing, and playing the piano, which I don't think I was anyway ever attracted to. But if I get a role where I'm given the opportunity to play a little bit of very average piano, then great. With the singing and acting, ditto. Let's leave the dancing out, please, for now. And I really do believe that I won't be able to be a professional again because of as a result of my health issue. And I can't change that, not to the extreme that I could be a professional again. However, maybe I could just build it up on YouTube, and maybe in that respect I could be a professional. And I look forward to the future on my YouTube channel, and I bid each one of you a loving goodbye. Please, please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my video this evening. And if you didn't like my performance this evening, please comment below. I love feedback. And to each one of you, please stay well. Please be well. Please take care of one another. And I have one more comment to add to my usual goodbye session. Please don't criticize anyone, including yourself. And please love each other and oneself. Lots of love. Good night. Bye-bye.